Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We are back with another video. Now in this video, guys, we're going to be previewing week 6. That is going to be for the NFL. Now we're going to be going over every single game, not just the Falcons game. I'm going to be giving you my preview of each match and what I think the score is going to be and who specifically is going to be winning through each game of this week. So I guess may as well just get off and get out of the way. Let's start with my team, that is the Atlanta Falcons. 0-5 versus the Minnesota Vikings at the Minnesota Vikings, who are 1-4. Now, of course, the Falcons did, of course, fire Dan Quinn this past week, and they changed up a lot of things, and I've heard rumors that they may actually get rid of Matt Ryan. Now, what does this mean for the Atlanta Falcons? This means that Matt Ryan's going to end up having a decent game this game. I feel like Matt Ryan's going to prove a point and saying, like, hey, you should not get rid of me. I should be your quarterback for the next couple of years, and that's what I feel like is going to happen. So when it comes to the Falcons versus the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, I mean, a lot of people would probably compare Kirk Cousins to Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan, a lot of people say Matt Ryan is not as good as, like, let's say Aaron Rodgers, because he gets protected by Julio Jones and all these other guys. That is kind of true, but Matt Ryan is still a decent quarterback. He's still an MVP. Kirk Cousins has not been an MVP. And due to the Falcons losing last year against the Vikings, they're going to be out for revenge. Not only just because they're 0-5 and they want to get a win, and Dan Quinn's been fired, so this team is going to be rejuvenated, but they're going to want to beat the Vikings after what happened last year, where the Falcons should have really beat the Vikings in that game, but the Vikings beat the Falcons in the first game of the season last season. But in this case, I'm going to give the Falcons the win, and I'm going to give them the win by 3 points, with the score of 24-21 with the win for the Falcons. Next game up is the Bears versus the Panthers. The 4-1 Bears are going to be facing off at the Carolina Panthers, who are 3-2. This is going to be an interesting game because I feel like this game is going to come down to one thing: the Bears' defense. If the Bears' defense can somehow stop the Carolina offense, the Bears are going to win this game. But the Bears can't stop the Carolina defense. I mean, if the Bears defense can't stop the Carolina offense, then it's going to be a very, very close game. But I feel like the Bears are really doing good. I never expected the Bears to be doing this good. Of course, I kind of had a feeling once they changed over to Nick Foles, that Nick Foles would be leading him like this. But I never realized they'd be 4-1. I mean, the Carolina Panthers are doing pretty decent because a lot of people thought the Carolina would be rebuilding and they'd be going for a quarterback next year. But look at them now; they're 3-2. They're tied, I'm pretty sure, for first in the division with the Bucs and the Saints. So in this case, I'm going to give the Bears the win, and I'm going to give the Bears the win by a score of 32-17. Moving on to the next game, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus Philadelphia Eagles. This is a prediction. This is a matchup that everybody would probably say is an easy matchup when it comes to this, because Philadelphia has been playing like crap, and I thought, if they were playing like crap, they would put Jalen Hurts. But I don't really know what's going to happen. The Eagles are 1-3-1. They're going to be at home against the 4-1 Ravens, whose only loss came against the Kansas City Chiefs. And this Baltimore defense is playing really, really good. The offense is not playing as explosive as it was last season, but they're still playing really, really good. That's why I'm going to give the Baltimore Ravens the win by a score of 40-21. I think it's going to be a blowout in terms of being at the Eagles. I think it's going to be a blowout. And this is the game I feel like the Eagles are going to realize that Carson Wentz is not going to be their quarterback of the future. Next, we have a boring game probably, because it's the Washington football team versus the New York Giants. Both of these teams are second last and last in the NFC East. Washington Redskins football team is 1-4. The New York Giants is 0-5. And you know what? I'm going to say this is going to be a very, very close game, because the defense for the Redskins is probably going to be a deciding factor on if they win this game or not. The defense can play very good. Washington will win this game, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Giants are going to get their first win of the season, and it's going to be a score of 14-11. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very close game. Next up, we have the Lions versus the Jaguars. The Detroit Lions, who are 1-3, are going to be facing off the Jaguars, who are 1-4, and who I expect, also along with the New York Jets, to be battling out for that number 1 pick. But the Jaguars could prove me wrong. This game is going to be at the Jaguars, and the Lions are doing that good, but the Lions can change everything around. They still have Matthew Stafford there. Matthew Stafford's a very decent quarterback, and that's how I'm going to give the Lions a pretty good win in terms of being at the Jaguars. I'm going to give them the win by a score of 24-7. So I feel like the Jaguars are barely going to be scoring 8 points, and Gardner Minshew is just going to play an average game like he always does, or probably play a bad game like he always does. But yeah, the Lions are going to end up beating the Jags by a score of 24-21. This is probably going to be my favorite game to watch when it comes to NFL this week. Browns versus Steelers. Probably this is the first time in a while the Browns versus Steelers has actually been it's going to be a very, very good matchup, because the Browns the last couple of seasons have been doing terrible, but now that they've gotten a decent head coach, look at them now. They're 4-1. They're going to be facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 4-0. And when it comes to Pittsburgh versus Browns, Pittsburgh's still undefeated. Pittsburgh is one of 4 teams that are still undefeated, along with the Titans, along with the Packers, and along with Seahawks, who I think the Seahawks and the Saints are not playing this week. I think they have a bye this week. But in terms of the Steelers-Browns game, I feel like the Steelers is going to, even though the Browns offense is really, really explosive, and of course they have a lot of weapons. Of course, they have Nick Chubb. They have they have Jarvis Landry. They have Odell Beckham Jr. who's been playing really, really good. They have Austin Hooper, and they have David Njoku at tight end. And their defense is really, really good. But this Pittsburgh defense is also good. I mean, the Pittsburgh offense is really, really good. Look what they did last week against Philly in the Battle of Philadelphia. So, yeah, I mean, sorry, not Battle of Philadelphia, Battle of Pennsylvania. And they ended up beating the Eagles by a pretty good, well, I wouldn't say pretty good margin. Their defense kind of let the Eagles back into the game. But in this case, I'm going to give the Steelers the win by a score of 38-31. So I feel like the Steelers are going to win by a touchdown, basically, and continue their record of being undefeated up until, we'll see what happens next week. Bengals versus Colts is the next matchup. Bengals are 1-3-1. They're the other team that's tied. Of course, they tied with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles should have really won that game, but they're going to be facing the Indianapolis Colts, whose defense is probably the best in the NFL so far. So the Colts are going to end up beating the Bengals by a score of 34-14. Moving on to Texans versus Titans. We're trying to get through this because I don't want to spend too long on this. Texans versus Titans. Texans are 1-4. Of course, they've already fired their coach, Bill O'Brien, and GM Bill O'Brien. And now they're going to be facing the undefeated Titans, who just come off beating what was the undefeated Bills, but they absolutely destroyed the Bills, and they made the Bills look silly. Now, this is the thing. The Titans are going to be riding high off beating the Bills. And I feel like this is going to be their downfall, because I feel like the Texans are going to really surprise them, and they're going to actually give them a very good matchup. And I feel like the Texans are going to win this game against the Titans and give Tennessee their first loss of the season, because I don't think Tennessee is going to be as good as everybody's talking about them right now. I don't think Tannehill's going to be as good as he's playing, as he played last game. So I'm going to give the Texans the win in this case by a score of 28-27. So I think it's going to be a difference of a 1-point game, and the Texans are going to get a surprise win at the Titans. Broncos versus Patriots. Rookie quarterbacks don't have a good record against Bill Belichick, and I don't think that's going to change. I feel like the Patriots, who are 2-2, are going to end up beating the Denver Broncos, who are 1-3. Drew Lock is not really fully 100% healthy, so that's going to be a big discerning factor. I mean, if it was at Denver, this would probably be a different story. But considering it's at the Patriots, and rookie quarterbacks don't really do good against Bill Belichick, I'm going to give the Patriots the win in this case by a score of 35-24. Next matchup, Jets versus Dolphins, 2 AFC East teams. Jets are 0-5. I don't really know how they haven't fired their coach, Adam Gase, yet. Versus Miami Dolphins, who is Adam Gase's former team. Now, Miami Dolphins have been really, really surprising. I mean, look what they did last week against the San Francisco 49ers, a team that was in the Super Bowl last year. San Francisco 49ers were in the Super Bowl last year, and the Miami Dolphins absolutely put a smashing on them, and Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing out of his mind. But does that mean the Dolphins are going to end up beating the Jets? Yes, they will. The Dolphins end up beating the Jets by a pretty good score. I feel like the Dolphins are going to end up getting getting even right now at a record 3-3 by beating the New York Jets by a score of 20.